Welcome to Energy Insights, the podcast we explore the trends and transformations shaping the energy transition across Asia. I'm your host, Stephen. Today, we turn our focus to China, home to the world's largest renewable energy capacity and also the world's biggest carbon emitter. It's a country full of contradictions, but also full of potential. While China continues to approve new coal planets, it's also driving clean tech innovations at a scale the world has never seen before. Our conversation today goes deeper than statistics. We want to understand how China's clean tech leadership is taking shape, not only within its borders, but across Asia. Can China's innovation in solar, batteries, electric vehicles, and hydrogen help unlock energy transition for the entire region? How are policy evolving? What does the startup ecosystem look like? And what regional opportunities are emerging for climate collaboration? To help us unpack all this, we are joined by Mr. Zhou Yu. Mr. Zhou Yu is a program manager at New Energy Nexus and also the head of startup ecosystem. He managed cross-border projects across 14 countries, engaging over 6,000 stakeholders, ranging from startups and university to investment institutions and government agencies. He has helped launch green engine accelerator programs, innovation competitions, and ecosystems that support technologies such as batteries, hydrogen, carbon capture, energy storage, and virtual power plants. Joe, welcome to Energy Insights. We are so pleased to have you with us.
Thank you, Stephen. It's also my pleasure to join today's conversation. The energy transition is indeed moving so fast, and I'm glad to share how we are seeing things in the region.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. We're very excited to have you here. So let's start with what you've been doing, the work. So you have managed an extended network across multiple countries, and you have been instrumental in connecting startups with larger systems. Could you walk us through your role and what you're currently working on at New Energy Nexus?
Yeah, for sure. So New Energy Nexus, we are actually a global innovation platform dedicated to accelerating the energy transition. So we have so far 14 countries of operation in the whole world, like the US, Australia, Southeast Asia, and Africa. I can share some statistics with you. So as of 2024, New Energy Nexus has supported over 10,000 entrepreneurs globally and also mobilized more than 4.7 billion US dollars in funding and also provided capital, industrial partnerships, brand exposure, and ecosystem support. We have supported over 1,500 clean energy startups, including Tesla, at the very early stage. So, as this big global network, New Energy Nexus China, it's rooted in the domestic market, and also we are providing all kinds of matchmaking and consulting services to our local partners, industrial parks, and SMEs to accelerate the whole energy transition and achieve the net zero targets. As this platform are actually, for my role, is to help build what we call the climate innovation ecosystems. Like Stephen, you have just mentioned, we are doing accelerator programs. And this year, during the Shanghai Climate Week in April, we successfully launched the Green Engine Accelerator, which aims to support companies who are wishing to going abroad or for foreign companies who wanted to have their business within China. So what we do is we provide all kinds of the support, not only the business matchmaking, but also helping them to connect with investors, with big clients, and also give them some capacity buildings in order to have a better growth in China and also around the world.
That is really inspiring that you've been supporting those startups for their innovations. It's really inspiring to understand. I will put it as a really great work. Understanding more that you connecting them to the investors to make things work better. Yeah, it's great to see. All right, so let's get on to another topic, which has been some point of view required to discuss this topic. It's about China's domestic landscape. So the focus is about the innovation landscape for the startup ecosystems, clean energy side of thing. So the country, the China, has developed one of the most advanced clean tech ecosystems in the world, but it's still often misunderstood. So from your vantage point, what's unique about the innovation culture in China's energy sector?
Steve, a very good question. I think talking about the unique point about China's energy sector is that what we can see is actually a mixture of the government and the public policy support, especially the using of pilot zones or experimental projects. But also, we are encouraging a lot of marketing economy arising from a lot of domestic companies who are gradually scaling up and become the national or international big corporates in the world. Like I've mentioned, for example, just if we look at the solar panels or the battery sectors, like the EV makings in China, at the very first beginning, we can see many favorable government policies coming from the government who supports the development of these solar panel companies or EV car manufacturing companies. And at the same time, you can see there are also a lot of big competitors arising from this good scenario. Lots of companies are really doing very hard in order to produce a top product to introduce that into the market. I can give you an example is that I'm recently purchasing an EV in China. And as I can see, what an EV can do is actually far beyond my imagination. It's now, if you look at a EV in China, you can see that they will install like a small refrigerator on the car, and it's easy for you to get the freezing drinks in summer times and also warm drinks during winter times. And all the seats, no matter it's in the first row or the back row for the drivers and also the passengers, they can enjoy the services provided by the chairs, which they can do massage. And also during the winter times, these chairs can warm itself so that you will not feel that cold in the car. So that's how I can say it's amazed to see how rapid the growth of EV manufacturing and also the development has taken place. So if we see this good phenomenon from behind, it's actually one is the government support. As China has proposed its carbon neutrality and carbon peak goals, the whole sectors have devoted a lot of efforts in order to achieve that carbon neutrality and the carbon peak. So the government will support all these good green technologies coming up. And the second is also we see a lot of domestic kind of innovation driving. Because if you can see those big brands like NIO, like Xiaopeng or Xiaomi, they're also doing EV cars. They are private companies. They are all domestic, very successful entrepreneurs who are really competing with each other in order to present best product to our car buyers. So I would say that it's actually quite unique, a mixture. Like at the first, there are government policy-driven kind of policies coming up, as well as the local entrepreneurship kind of innovation culture that is also very popular in China's energy sector.
This is really incredible to hear. So these EV are being designed, distributed across China and is very popular in particular region per se, or how would you say this is like the entire China market's popular right now? And then like people are so excited about these innovation per se.
Yeah, I think in terms of EV cars, we can say there are statistics sharing. Like for each month, when people are purchasing new cars, the percentage of the EV cars is actually close to over 50%, which means that every two cars bought in China nowadays, one of them is from the EV cars. So you can see that given its affordability, like it's easy, you can just buy a car less than I would say let's say 100,000 RMB, which is around 10 to 20,000 USD that you can buy a car in China. And also the electricity price is much cheaper compared with petrol. And I think the benefits is not only shared by all the Chinese mainland, and also we see that a lot of the car manufacturers are actually exporting their cars to overseas markets. Like recently, I just traveled to Southeast Asia, and for example, in Bangkok, in Thailand, when I
Yeah.
used a Grab to call the taxi on the street, and I get many EV cars coming out, and it's like the brand like a BYD or other famous Chinese car manufacturing EV companies. And so you can see that this actually is going to export all these kind of EV cars to more countries, and then all the people in other countries can also share the benefits of these EV cars.
Yes, it is. As you mentioned in Bangkok, yeah, definitely the EV is are becoming a thing here. So, I could imagine all these entrepreneurs, they could speed up all this innovation. And so were they involved, from the very beginning because they have a strong startup ecosystem whereby they can get lots of helps, lots of investment funding. So they were thinking that they will go beyond China markets, let's say global markets, or outreach regionally to Europe and to the entire Asian market. Were they thinking global from the start? Because China has a very strong startup ecosystem. How would you describe that?
Yeah, a very good question. So, through my experience, as I have introduced to you, we are launching the Green Engine Accelerator this year under the big strategy that Next China has proposed, which is called China In and China Out. So, for China In, it's mainly encouraging companies to come to China for foreign companies, and we are providing them to get familiarized with all the Chinese context, no matter customers or clients or investors. And for China Out, we are emphasizing that for domestic Chinese entrepreneurs, if they're going to go abroad, that we can also support them in the 14 countries or regions we have been operating. And from my observation, to answer your question, I would say it's actually a mix of these companies, because some of the companies, they just start only looking at the Chinese domestic markets, because the request or the needs for each country is totally different. Like if we talk about the EV cars, it's kind of hard or to publicize or to make it popular in America or European countries, because lots of them because we have seen that there is a huge second-hand car trading market in those countries, because people will consider about its second-hand market after, say, you've used a car for 8 to 10 years. Because for EVs, usually the cost is coming from its batteries, and the battery will have its lifespan, and you have to consider, like, after the driving of several or decades time, the remaining value of this car may decrease a lot compared with the traditional petroleum cars. So this example, I just wanted to say that since different countries have their own priorities and also people, customers, different needs. So for some Chinese startups, they are mainly targeting the domestic market. But we do see, like for solar panels, because this kind of a technology is beneficial to everyone. And no matter where you are, as long as you have sunlight, you can enjoy the benefits of this new technology. And we do see a lot of startups we have supported. An example is a company called Sunwise. They are inventing solar panels and to put them in a cargo or a container. And in Africa, as we all know, there are a lot of countries and places still lack electricity access. So what they do is that they're shipping these kind of containers to those areas, and it's very easy to install and uninstall, and to connect it to their grid systems or use it in the factory or household level. Then it is really convenient for the local communities to get access to quite a stable electricity, I would say. So it's actually a mix, I should say. Some just targeting domestic market, but for others, if they have a more international kind of scenario, they can apply their technology, then definitely they will consider that part.
Very interesting. Thank you. So just the follow-up questions, right? Statistically, would you say either EV or the solar energy in the renewable sectors, right, for local innovations and international applications, which one is leading, the EV side or the solar side?
You mean the company names or?
Yeah, any local innovation per se stand out globally?
Yeah, if talking about the EV, I think we're saying the three big giants is called Wei Xiao Li. I think Wei is Niu, Xiao is Xiaopeng, Li is like Xiao. They are the three brands that are quite famous in China. But if you're talking about like the international trade or export, then definitely BYD is doing very well. And also, I think there are other brands that are quite unique in other countries. For solar panels, I would say there are like a Jinko Solar. We also have like the Longji, and also we have like the Jingao JA Solar. So actually, the solar market is even more competitive now
Sure.
in China.
Right, right. So it's very competitive. It comes also with the policy, the controls and stuff. So moving on, let's talk about policy or these solar EV clean tech sectors. Definitely, the policy has a big role shaping these clean tech, especially for China market. So could you share on a national level or professional level in terms of policy that have helped scale these entrepreneurs ecosystem, these industry, and where you think the next big shifts will happen?
Yeah, sure. I think in terms of the China's role or it's going to play in the whole world, the local government has really put a lot of efforts. There are quite a lot of national and provincial kind of policies in order to help scale these industries. So standing from this role, I think if you look at the big picture that China has been doing, is we can look at the China's national determined contribution for the Paris Agreement, which was just proposed last month during the United Nations General Assembly. I can share some of the statistics there. The main targets China committed to achieve by 2035. First is its GHG emissions reductions to reduce the economy-wide net greenhouse gas emissions by 7 to 10% from the peak levels. And the second is the non-fossil fuel share. We will increase the share of non-fossil fuels in the total energy consumption to over 30%. And the third is the renewable energy capacity. We are going to expand the installed capacity of wind and solar power to over 6 times compared with the 2020 levels, which strive for a total of 3,600 gigawatts.
So,
And that's the goal to align with the Paris Agreement by 2035. So 10 years, we are going to achieve this goal. And also to make the new energy vehicles to become the predominant type of new vehicle sales. And lastly, it's about the forest stock volume that we are going to build more trees to make the forest stock volume to exceed the 24 billion cubic meters. So I think behind this great and quite ambitious goal, there are a lot of government or provincial government kind of policies coming out. Like we are supporting the solar and also the EV manufacturing. Like for example, like Guangdong province or Jiangsu, Anhui. These are the provinces which are the headquarter of a lot of solar and EV companies, and they will provide very favorable taxation policies, providing the venues, providing the factories at a very low interest rate. And also they will provide like research and development subsidies or talent policies. Like if you are a PhD or a master or graduating from the top university in the whole world, if you want to work in these areas or in these companies, then it's easy to give you some subsidy or give you the very cheap housing rent. So these are the policies we have been seeing that actually in domestic level across the different provinces, they also compete in order to have the better services, better companies, and better talents.
Great, great. Would you describe these statistics and ambition rather a big change or have been engaged consistently?
I would say it's engaging consistently, and every time when you look at these data and also the way the government is talking about its statistics, it is actually making swift little some changes. So for example, this time when we are talking about the emissions to reduce by 7 to 10% from the peak levels, and it is using the GHG, which already includes all the GHG emissions, not only the carbon dioxide. And second, I would say that if you look at the non-fossil fuel share, usually in the past, China will emphasize its installed capacity, like it's more from the supplier or side to release its data. But now we see that it's actually more from the consumption side, because it says they increase the share of the non-fossil fuels in total energy consumption to over 30%, which means that if you build a lot of solar factories, you build a lot of EV cars, if no one used them, or if you abandon these energy derived from these like solar panels, there is no meaning in doing that. It's in vain. But now, if you look at the data, it's saying that the consumption should be reach over 30%. So you can see that behind it, although it's a slight difference in its data and also the way they are releasing their data, but we see that it's actually gradually emphasized that we should use more and also to put the energy development in a more practical way.
Great, great. So, all these contributions, I'm sure, have contributed by larger players, startups, and small companies, mid-sized companies, and altogether from the ecosystem per se. So, are these policy rather in terms of benefits mainly for larger players, or it's also potentially opening doors for startups per se?
Yeah, very good question. I think the policies are open to all kinds of companies, and it's just been slightly different depending on the company's scale. For example, if you're looking at the SMEs, we do have a lot of government policies to welcome the talents or the new technologies coming up and to have their companies located in a certain area. And for if you look at the total, I mean, the big picture of this development, those SMEs or those startups, they can really provide the advanced technologies to those big corporates, because those big corporates, they already have quite mature technology. They have the markets, they have their own products. But if they want to improve further, because if we just only change a very small part of a total product, then you can see that the whole quality could be significantly improved. So that's why we would say that the SMEs as well as those big companies, they can both benefit from that. And what New Energy Nexus has been doing is that we are trying to build a platform that can really help these innovative startups to scale up their business, as well as to have the big corporates to collaborate. One example I could give is the LG Battery Challenge. LG is the world leading kind of a battery technology companies based in Korea. And every 2 years, we'll help them to launch the battery challenges. And they were looking at the Chinese domestic market if there are any good companies that are doing, for example, the antidotes, the cathodes that are quite beneficial or can really improve the lifespan of the battery or the safety issues of the batteries. And they will set up the connection and collaborate with each other. So I would say that both the big corporates and also the local small entrepreneurs, startups can benefit under this big policies.
Thank you, Joe. It's been really interesting topics and understanding all the statistics and supports and benefits in startup ecosystem innovations and all the opportunities for the local dynamics. So moving on to supply chain and regional collaboration. So let's zoom out. Just want to understand more about the key elements. One of the key elements of China global clean tech impact, which is the supply chain integrations. What does that look like in practical terms, especially in the wider Asia?
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for your question. I think indeed, if we are talking about the Chinese innovation, whether it's EVs or solar panels, supply chain is always the key issue that we have to focus on. Because I think why, if you talk about the relative advantage of China's EV or energy growth, definitely quite mature or cross different level regional kind of a value chain is really important for this. Starting from the raw materials to like all kinds of assembly, advanced technology, and exports. So we are leveraging the relative kind of a strength in the value chain that can really put all these efforts together. We've also seen that actually there are a lot of regional kind of a collaboration between China and within the Asian countries. Because if we look at the EV cars and also like the solar panels, there are a lot of branch factories opening up in Southeastern Asian countries. Like we've seen some battery companies opening up its factory in Thailand or in Indonesia. And also like we've seen in Philippines, we are launching our solar panel projects, which can also create a lot of green jobs for the local partners. And at the meantime, we also see, if you look at the trade between China and also like in the whole world, like Trump just put the tariff recently on a lot of products. And also like in Europe, we see the CBAM, the carbon border mechanism, adjustment mechanisms, which also put a lot of barriers in this domain. I think these are what we don't want to see, and which really creates a lot of obstacles for these kind of international trade mechanisms. So I think if we want to really push forward the supply chain kind of a management, then for these trade policies, we should look at it, and also in a better we wish the whole world can create a more favorable environment for all these kind of a supply chain collaboration.
So all these developments per se, expansions on Asia-wide collaborations. What is the drive, the driven factors for this shift? Is it more of there's an opportunity for those markets, or has it been measurements by policy from the local governments or a provincial or individually or by any local expertise or something else?
You mean for the regional collaboration?
Yeah, all these expansion per se, those practical terms, expansions, collaborations.
I think it is out of several reasons. Firstly, I think, in China, no matter it's the EVs or like the solar panels or hydrogen, the market is there and there are too many competitors. So in this environment, definitely out of the interest of these entrepreneurs seeking the expansion of their products in a bigger picture, bigger environment, not only focusing on in China. That's what all these companies are trying to do. So I would say it's also out of their company's interest to expand their business into other countries. I think the second thing I would like to say it's under because these products, these good technology are really beneficial when you are exporting a car or like the solar panels, for example, in Africa, using the solar panels to solve the electricity access problems. It is indeed better than if you're using the traditional diesel kind of electricity generators. The solar panel option is cheaper and it can cover wider areas and have a wider coverage of those who do not have access to electricity. So I think it's also beneficial I mean, to create a mutual kind of a win-win strategy or a win-win kind of atmosphere for most of the countries. And thirdly, I would say that while China, at least for New Energy Nexus, we are doing the projects, like we are exporting some of the solar panels to Philippines. And when we are launching this event, we really care about it's not just export of the products, but more importantly, we care about the services and also its long-term kind of a use or maintenance of these solar panels. So that's why every time we are exporting these solar panels, we will have initiatives or activities that are doing the capacity building to the local communities, how you better measure or using these solar panels. And whenever there is problems of these solar panels, and you can have the ability to fix or repair some of the problems of these solar panels. So thus we are creating more green jobs as well as to make the whole project more sustainable in that way.
Would you say there will be more demand from all these regions, not only in Asia, also probably outside of Asia region?
Yeah, I would say there are more demand because energy is something that we really can't live without it. And also, if we see the so far the biggest kind of a trend, or if we think about our future, I would say two topics are really what all the countries are caring about. The first one is definitely the energy. The second one is AI. If we look at the AI, the ultimate kind of source, like how you have to ensure the stable algorithm and the power of these data, it's those like data centers. And with these data centers, the ultimate kind of source of these data centers are actually energy, how you're going to produce long-lasting, stable, safe electricity supply. So I would say that all these demands are really quite promising across the whole world.
Yeah, speaking of AI, I think a lot of EV car, as you mentioned, would you say they will be AI driven soon enough?
Yeah, I think now if you look at a lot of EV cars, they will have the function of the autonomous kind of driving, which means that the driver does not have to drive on his own, and he can use the functions and the car can drive on its own. And what you do is you just look at the road conditions, and if it's not safe or if there are some times the car can't control itself that well, you can interrupt and just pull the brake, and then you can drive by yourself. So these kind of technology really adds a lot of convenience to the car users. And also, like now, there is a new function that recently I've just tried is that if you're in a parking lot, so many chances sometimes you forget where your car is parking, and it's very hard. Like you try to find your car. The traditional way might be you just remember the numbers of the place you're parking the car, or maybe you're pressing your key and to make it have some noises and you can know where the car is. But now we have a kind of a calling system, which is you use your mobile phone and you can ask your car to drive on its own and to come to the place where you are standing. So I think this kind of a technology is really interesting and very impressive when I see this technology at the first time.
Yeah, technology it's already evolved, and then the future is already here. I mean, it's not even like future; it's future. Future is now. Yeah, yeah. With the AI and all these integrations. Yeah. But we still have to look ahead. So moving on, looking ahead in terms of outlook and reflections on China's role in Asia energy transition. So, we're talking about evolving the AI and stuff. So, where do you see in terms of China's clean tech sectors in about a decade, 5, 10 years, in your opinion, or with statistics, can you support? Can it truly become the engine that powers Asia's energy transition?
Yeah, a very good question. I think if If standing from my own perspective, I believe it already is, and also in many ways, and its role is keep evolving. So it's moving from being a traditional supplier to being a more kind of a collaborator or strategic partner with a lot of other countries, because we are not just ship these kind of solar panels or EVs. What we do more is that we are creating the green jobs, we are doing the capacity building, we are supporting the local kind of education and training systems. One example I could give is that actually in September, just New Energy Nexus China just attended the Bangkok Climate Action Week, and we have hosted 3 events, which aims to have the deeper collaboration between the Shanghai Climate Week and the Asian market. We've launched the initiative called the Climate Lighthouse. It's that we are going to publicize some of the good examples of these manufacturing companies who can really have the green technology to reduce the carbon emissions. And these technologies or examples could be shared among the Asian market. So I would say in the future, in 5 to 10 years, China will continue to share its new technology as well as export some of the good products to the Asian market. And also, there could be a lot of more close collaborations in the regional level. It could be the technology kind of exchange. It could be the capacity building. It could be like the initiatives, like the Shanghai Climate Week, Bangkok Climate Action Weeks. I'm quite optimistic and look forward to that.
Thank you, June. This is quite a extended version of what's going on, what's happening, and what could be more beneficial into the aspire entrepreneurs and all these who look up to those information statistics. Really appreciate that you have contributed all this information for this podcast. And just a final thoughts and final questions. So for young professionals or startup founders who are in the ecosystem listening to this podcast, what would you give them as a takeaway in terms of making a difference in a clean technology and for climate action?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I think if you are going to start your business, I would encourage you just looking at the problems that is close to you. And you can start with very small kind of needs or request, and then gradually scale up your business. Because I believe all the no matter it's the solar panels or the EVs, no matter you are the Tesla, BYD, or all kinds of companies, they are start with a very small level. Maybe you just have a good technique in battery production, or maybe you have the technology to reduce the carbon emission, or if you have a better way to produce hydrogen. It could be very small and very minor part that can change the whole supply chain and also the technology aspect. And secondly, I do encourage you can talk with more industrial experts and investors, because they have seen so many cases, no matter it's successful stories or those failures. Try to learn from these stories and to avoid the mistakes that might be facing you. And finally, I think try to form a good team. Collaboration is really important. Everyone has its strengths and shortcomings. You can't be a person who is really talented in technology, in marketing, in selling, all kinds of aspects. It's impossible. So always trying to look for someone who can be complementary and also to give you more values. And whenever you form a group, then you have larger chances to succeed. Yeah, that would be my suggestions.
How about the takeaway for them to get funding to contact you to the programs that you're managing?
Yeah, sure. You can always contact me via my email, which is Zhou Yu at newenergynexus.com.
Great. Thank you for bringing the clarity to the complexities of China's energy transformation and showing how regional innovation can be a force for global impact and for the startup ecosystems going forward. Thank you for tuning in today's episode. If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest in the energy transition. For more in-depth and analysis updates, visit our website at energytracker.asia. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Energy Insight. Thank you, Joe, for joining us as well.